Welcome to Figure Out Your Life podcast, the podcast where we try to find the answers to life's everyday questions. I'm your host, Toya T, aka Toya T, PhD, aka Dr. T, aka Sister from Another Mister, aka the Mistress of Storytelling, aka I am woman, hear me roar. Roar. Too damn silly. Anyway, guys, welcome back. I'm going to get straight to the meat and potatoes of this episode. You should already know from the title that we will be talking about figuring out how to support women of color this month and every month. Now, this topic is, of course, inspired by the fact that March is Women's History Month. And so in celebration of Women's History Month, I want to highlight a few ways, particularly 10 ways, that we can all take in our everyday lives to support, champion, and empower women, and particularly women of color and, of course, Black women. Because I can't forget my Black women, because I am a Black woman. My mom is a Black woman, and so is my granny. Okay. So personally, I strive every day to be more comfortable and confident with who I am as a woman, who I am as a Black woman in this world, in America, in Massachusetts, in the Boston area. And I feel driven to help other women feel more comfortable and confident as well, because it is definitely a lifelong process. And it can be kind of hard when you grow up and live in a patriarchal society that pretty much emphasizes the abilities and the role and the leadership of men and relegates women to the role of subordinate, right? Even though when you're talking about numbers, like, we outnumber men significantly. We are 51% of the population of the world. Let's remember that embryos start off as female until they get the extra chromosome to become male. I mean, come on. Like, woman is earth. Woman is power. Woman is God, as I've heard said. And so I just felt like it was just very important, not just to talk about how to support women just during Women's History Month, but being able to support women every single month of the year. So not just 2020, but just for every month that you are alive. These are ways that I feel that you can, help women reach their full potential, help the women in your life fulfill their full potential. If you are the woman in your life, help you fulfill your full potential. I find these tips that I'm giving you, these 4 ways that you can support women, women of color, particularly, and Black women, especially. I find these are things that I myself am, going to be using and have been using. And so I'm just going to get straight into this. So here is 10 ways everyone, man, woman, however you identify, non-gender conforming, whoever you are, I'm giving you 10 ways that you can support women of color. So number 1 is vote for women. Hello, it is election season. It is only natural that I would start this list off with voting and the importance of encouraging women to run for office and voting for them when they do. Of course, you're basing this off of if their platforms line up with your values, and that you should be voting for women and encouraging women to run for office, not only in federal positions, but also in your state and local governments. Not even on that either. Please, let's go into any kind of board, like an advisory board, a business board, whatever it is. Just encourage women to go for leadership positions and vote for them. And I'm really saying this not only for the fact that it's election season, but this is after Super Tuesday. And I'm not trying to get too political on this, but I'm pretty darn mad that I was born and raised in the state of Massachusetts, and Elizabeth Warren was running for president as a woman, as a smart woman, as a capable woman, as a woman that I voted for to become senator of Massachusetts, that the state of Massachusetts couldn't even give her the win on Super Tuesday. Like, yeah, she was behind in the numbers, and she wasn't, it was looking like she wasn't going to be a viable candidate to become president, but it just kind of pissed me off that she couldn't even get the state of Massachusetts that she represents, and represents well, to give her the votes, and they gave it to a man instead. And I was just like, oh my gosh, where are we going in this world? And this comes back to, the last election and the fact that Hillary Clinton got all the way up to, just almost there. She got the popular vote, did not get the electoral college votes. And, she was way more capable, way more educated, way more sensible than the current person that we have in office. But a lot of it came from the fact that people just could not get their mind around voting for a woman. Not all people, because Black women, we voted correctly. I know that for sure. I know who I voted for, and I know I voted correctly, and I've seen the numbers, and I will never forget that the people that voted wrong was the white women. They couldn't even vote for their own girl. And so that's why I think it's very important that I start this off here and saying how to support women, but I can't even really worry about how you support white women when white women won't even support each other. But we all know as women of color, we tend to support each other, and especially Black women, we are always rooting for each other. And I'm just saying, again, if you hear that your girl wants to become state representative or legislator or president, let us go ahead and encourage her and champion for her and vote for her, because having our voices represented is so crucial to making sure our rights, our human rights as women, are upheld. And electing women to office is one of the most massive ways we can contribute to affect change for women on a structural level. If you want to have the facts and stats about women in political leadership positions, here are some of the numbers. So of the 127 women serving in the 116th U.S. Congress, which is the current Congress, 47 or 37% of them are women of color. Okay, that 127 women serving. I'm gonna say it again: 127 women serving in the 116th U.S. Congress. Only 47 or 37%. 37. We can't even get 50. Not even 40. 37% are women of color. When you're talking about the Senate in itself, the Senate has 4 and the House of Representatives has 43. In addition, we also have a Black woman, a Latina, an Asian Pacific Islander, and a Caribbean American women that serve as delegates to the House from Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, American Samoa, and the Virgin Islands, respectively. Of the 90 women serving in statewide elective executive offices, 16 or 17% are women of color. Of the 2,144 women state legislators serving nationwide, only 541 or 25.2% are women of color. This includes 131 senators and 410 representatives. And so, as you can see from that, when talking about the fact that women make up 51% of the population, and that is just overall. And then when you look, especially for America, that is supposed to have, champion democracy and equality, that we still have such a low number of women of color in these leadership positions, and then just women in general in these leadership positions, just shows me how important it is that we vote for women, because we definitely need the representation to be reflected by the actual numbers. If it's about to be about representation, women should be overly represented. We should be at 51% of these seats of power. So, number 2, hire women and pay them equal wages. I'm saying it again, hire women and pay them equal wages. If you are someone who is an employer, please exercise your influence by bringing women onto your teams. Make it an effort to make sure the outreach is reaching out to women, and especially women of color, that when you start talking about diversity and inclusion, that you really are trying to include women, that you really are not just going to have women there, but you're going to let them actually speak and contribute. And so what I'm saying for that is that we need more women just in places. And then once you have them there, you need to pay them a fair wage. We need equal pay to their male counterparts. We can't be having this gender wage gap and still be talking about equality and democracy, because it don't make no sense. The gender pay gap has narrowed over time, but currently it's about 80%, that women still earn about only 85% of what men earn. And that's white men, really. And there's clearly still plenty of work to be done in the arena of pay equality. And just to give you the numbers, it's not even completely fair. That's why I'm saying that you need to hire women of color. You need to hire women of color, especially Black women. Again, this is completely biased because I'm a Black woman and I have to make sure that we get Black women in spaces. Women of color, yes, but also Black women. Make sure you include, because there's a lot of anti-Blackness forms of racism that don't affect other women of color, because they don't have that extra form of hatred that is anti-Blackness that is also found among Latinos, Asians, and other groups of color. So that's what I'm saying. But when you're talking about the numbers in itself and you really want to understand it, Asian women make about 90 cents on the dollar of what white men make. White women make about 79 cents on a dollar of what white men make. Black women make 62 cents on the dollar of what white men make. Native American, Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander women make about 61% or 61 cents of what white men make, of the dollar that a white man makes. American Indian or Alaskan Native women make 57% or 57 cents on the dollar of what white men make. And Latino women are all the way at the bottom, or Hispanic women, whichever term that you use, they're at 54%. They're at 54 cents on the dollar that a white man makes. So they have to work pretty much a year and a half to even catch up to more than that, to catch up to what a white man makes in 1 year. And so you can see that the gender wage gap significantly affects women of color, excluding Asian women. They're doing way better than all of us. But even on that, women in general, we should be making 1 for 1. And so when you do hire women and you get them in these buildings, into these businesses, into these companies, make sure that they are being paid equally. And if you're a man and you're listening to this, go ahead and if you know someone has the same role as you do, so you are, let's say, a sales representative and this person's also a sales representative, or you're a junior associate at a law firm and this woman is a junior associate at a law firm, go ahead and discuss what your starting salary was. Just especially if you're really about helping women and making sure there's equal wages, make sure that y'all both making the same amount, and at least be able to compare it. If you know that you have comparable skills and education, go ahead and just share that information, because that's the only way that we're actually going to get equity, is to actually know the numbers and be able to say, like, hey, this is not right. Moving on to number 3, buy from women of color owned businesses. I mean, buy from women businesses, but particularly, please go ahead and spend your dollars. So for those women who decided to start their own businesses, maybe on the side, maybe full-time entrepreneurs, spend money in their businesses. Because when you look at the Fortune 500 companies out there, there's only a few women-owned businesses. I think it's less than 10%. I really do. I think it's in the double digits, but that's not enough. And so the best way that you can support women of color this month and every month is to support their businesses. And I would give you a list, but I mean, you could just look that up for yourself within your own cities. If you're looking for nationwide, off the top of my head, a few women-owned businesses that I patronize include the Lip Bar. I'm currently wearing Boss Lady lip stain from the Lip Bar. That is a Black woman-owned beauty company her products are sold in Target. She also sells them online. Fenty Beauty, which is partially owned by a woman of color, particularly Rihanna. That's the foundation that I'm wearing. That's how I support her and support a woman of color owned business. What else? Let me think about my earrings. So I wore earrings today that were by Rachel Stewart Jewelry. Rachel Stewart is another independent woman entrepreneur. She does all types of really just amazing jewelry. And so this is the kind of stuff that I mean. If you hear that someone has a business, another business that I should definitely plug is my best friend's business, which is Hey Dr. Court, where if you are trying to learn Spanish, if you want to brush up on your Spanish, even if you're a Spanish speaker and you just want to become better at reading and writing Spanish, hit up Hey Dr. Court at heydrcourt.com. That is another woman-owned business. And so this is the ways that you can support women of color owned businesses. You spread the word about them, and then you use your dollars to support them. Number 4. So speak up. As Rihanna said in her NAACP acceptance speech for, I think, the President's Award, or maybe it was the Humanitarian Award. It's one of those things. She won an award. I think it was last year. I don't know when it was taken. Maybe it was this year. Okay, now I'm getting off topic. But either way, Rihanna said in this speech, and she said a lot of things, but she pretty much said, like, I think it was humanitarian, like for her work, like, for her humanitarian efforts, right? And so she was saying, like, if you have friends from different races, if you are a friend of someone, of a black person, of a black woman, what we need you to do, and she said, tell your friends to pull up. When the protests come out, when there's workshops and webinars and seminars about being more racially aware, when the elections come up and you see there is a blatant racist on the freaking ballot, don't vote for them. If someone says something that is racist, that is sexist, that you speak up. Like, that's what she's talking about. Tell your friends, tell your non-people of color friends, tell your non-women of color friends, in this case, to pull up. Pull up when the times get rough. Supporting women's rights often happens in the day-to-day of life. Have the tough conversations with your friends, your family members, especially your grannies and your grandpas. I know it's hard to try to change old people that lived during Jim Crow and before the Civil Rights Movement and the Civil Rights Act got put in place, but talk to them. And this is particularly for my white listeners, if I have any. Talk to your grannies and your grandpas, and talk to your mamas and your daddies and your brothers and your sisters and your uncles. Everyone else, just talk to your friends. Tell them to pull up, to be aware of the rights, especially when it affects women of color. You need to talk to them and make sure that you have these tough conversations. Use your voice to talk about the topics that affect women, things like abortion rights. And we knew they were trying to get rid of that shit last year. Like, there's no other way of saying that. They really tried to, like, set us back and put us in the dark ages, or put us in Gilead of The Handmaid's Tale. That's what they're trying to completely put us in the red hoods and just separate us into sex worker, unwomen who just, work until they die, breeders, which are the handmaids, and, undesirables, which are people that, end up getting sterilized and killed. Like, that's what they were trying to put us in. Oh, and wife. So either you could be a wife, a breeder, a sex worker, or a worker that works until she dies or did. And we don't want that. I mean, they really was trying to bring us back there where men were controlling pretty much women's reproductive rights, when they're very much a part of the process, but they don't have to go through the process of procreating and creating a child and raising that child. Funding for Planned Parenthood. That has been under attack ever since 45 got into office, and other women's health programs. We need to be talking about that and making sure that they continue to be funded. Free birth control, paid maternity leave, wage equality, sexual assault and domestic violence legislation, like all and programs and policies. These are all things that are topics that affect women. And these are things that we should be talking about and making sure we raise our voices up about, and also make sure that we make our viewpoints known by using our dollars, using our feet, and using our voices, and using our votes. Number 5, donate. So donate to organizations that are on the ground every single day fighting for women's rights. This is incredibly important way to make a difference. The number of organizations that do this important work is vast, and so I'm not going to go down a list for you. A few of the ones that stand out to me are like Planned Parenthood, like I mentioned before, which delivers vital reproductive health care, sex education, and information to millions of people worldwide. Although they keep being characterized by the conservatives and the ultra religious and Trump as an abortion clinic, it's not. That is like a small portion of what they do. It's great. They provide like vital reproductive health care to low income families, and particularly low income women. So definitely look up what women centered organizations that you can donate to or volunteer at. And this is pretty much like a great way to support women every single month. Make sure your feminism is intersectional. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to say this straight up. If your feminism is not intersectional or multicultural, it's not feminism, and it's not supporting women of color. Definitely not. It's just white women rights. That's what you should call it, if you don't have intersectionality or multiculturalism put in there. And what I mean by that, if you don't know what intersectionality is or intersectional feminism is the idea that each component of our identity, things like race, gender, our sexual orientation, our socioeconomic status, our ability, and so many other things, that they all are intersected with each other. They can't be pulled apart, that we do not exist in a vacuum. And so, for an example, a woman experiences sexism, a Black woman would experience sexism and racism, and a gay Black woman can experience sexism, racism, and homophobia. Okay. And so if you change those things, so, a man who is gay, but still a man, is going to experience racism and homophobia, but not sexism. Are you getting me? And so understanding how each person experiences discrimination or oppression helps us better understand how we can combat it, how we can help them. And so if you're not thinking about things in terms of not all women have the same experiences, and that's why I keep saying, like, we need to really support women of color. This is all about supporting women of color, and then especially Black women. I'm just putting the extra caveat on there because, again, anti-Blackness is real, racism is real. And there's a extra layer that is not experienced particularly by other women of color that Black women experience. That's all I'm saying. But I'm saying that all women of color, that we need to be supporting them. And if you're not using intersectionality to understand the experiences of women, the experiences of oppression, then you're really not going to solve the problems. If you're going to just go straight off of straight feminism and saying that, oh, we need all this for women and women experience this, and not take into account that not all women experience things, because white women still have race privilege to not experience racism. And that is a huge factor in the socioeconomic, the life outcomes, the educational outcomes of women. And so you have to make sure that you fully understand the problems that women face before you're able to help. Again, keep that into account and find a way for us to all coexist, that we can all have different experiences, but still live together and still fight for each other. Then we're in a good place. Number 7, split the workload outside of work. Time is one of the most valuable assets that we all have. And when women are taking on the majority of the housework, the workload at home, as well as the mental and physical burdens that come along with it, they're not able to expend the energy in other important areas of their lives, as in like taking care of themselves. Because that is like the big thing, is always talking about the fact that women have less time for themselves because they spend so much time on their partners and their kids, if they have them. And so, as a note to all of the partners of women, do your part and make sure that the cleaning, the cooking, and the raising of the children, for those who have them, are 50-50. That you keep it as equal as possible, that everyone is doing the same amount of work, that it's not that the woman has, 50 hours of work, and then also the responsibility of doing the grocery shopping and the cooking and the cleaning and the minding of the children and the putting in the bed of the children and the dropping off at school and picking up of the children. And all the man has to do, or the partner has to do, is take out the trash and mow the lawn and kill a spider, or, sometimes barbecue. No, there needs to be a 50-50 split. That's all we can ask for. It's 2020, people. We have come far, but we have not come far enough. Number 8, encourage women to make difficult decisions, present new ideas, and step outside their comfort zone. So pretty much encourage women to make leaps of faith, to step outside their comfort zones, to try new things. Like push your female friends, your colleagues, your family, push yourself to achieve your very best. Achieve the very, very best. Listen to new ideas, especially, I mean, I know y'all have heard the term or the phrase being used, listen to black women. Listen to black women, cite black women, thank black women. And I mean, that's pretty much just in general for women and, women of color, like do those things. Listen to the voices of women of color. Listen to the voices of women of color, and also encourage the women of color in your life. Encourage them to try new things, to step outside the box, to be a little bit weird, to be a little bit abnormal, because we shine in so many different areas and we're not able to do so if people try to keep us in a box or don't allow us to fly. So go ahead and tell a woman of color in your life, tell yourself that it's okay to walk away from negative situations. If that is a relationship, if that is a job, if that is toxic family members, that even if it's scary or painful, you need to do it. You need to walk away from it. You need to think about yourself first. Encourage the women of color in your life to just take these leaps of faith for what they want in life. If they want to go back to school, support them in it. If they want to, travel the world, support them in it. Don't say, oh, well, black people don't do this or they don't go here and it's not safe for a woman to travel here. No, support them. Say, I'm going to keep in touch with you. Like, I'm going to download WhatsApp and make sure that you can contact me at any time and I can make sure yourself, but go ahead and be safe. And I look forward to hearing about your trip. Help women take these intimidating steps and let them know that they deserve what's on the other side. Let them know that they're worthy. And if this is for yourself, like, realize that you're worthy and that you have value and what your value is. And do not be afraid to speak up and to, fight for the things and speak up about the things that are important to you and that you definitely deserve. And if you don't get what you deserve, don't be afraid to strike out on your own, to start something new, to have something of your own, or to just leave if it's not working for you, because you should be very much making those hard choices, taking those leaps, because that's how we grow. That is how we grow. And the best way for us to be able to make sure that women grow and women of color grow and black women grow is that we have to be the support system for ourselves and for each other. Number 9, mentor women of color. Mentor girls of color. This is important. This is important. This is the important step. The women and the girls in your life, the women of color and the girls of color in your life, please reach out to them. Offer your help, offer your knowledge, offer your guiding hand, and help mentor them. This goes pretty much with the whole supporting, jumping out of the box, taking the leap of faith and encouraging different ideas and supporting women of color who want to do something different, that want to, change courses or transition to something else or do something that has never been thought of before. Support that. And then if you have the ability and the resources to be able to help them get there, this is where this comes in. Mentor them, give them the tools, help them network, connect them with people that can help them grow and achieve the things that they want most out of life. And even outside of that, we should also be looking to mentor women of girls of color that are outside of our family, that's outside of our network. And the best way you can do that is to reach out to things like the Big Brother, Big Sister Foundation or the Big Sister Foundation or your local, youth group, whatever it is, or the younger woman that works at your job. Take the initiative to reach out to them and offer your support, to serve as a role model, as a support system for these women and girls of color, to make sure that they have the self-esteem and the self-worth and the confidence to go after the things that they want most in life. Okay, now for number 10. This is a two-parter, so it depends on which identity group that you fall into. So if you are a woman of color, okay, if you're a woman of color and you identify as a woman of color, I need you to share your stories. I need you to share your stories, be honest about your life, and let other women find solace in your honesty and your truth and your transparency. For the B side, for those who are not women of color, I need you to listen to these stories and not appropriate them, not steal them and pass them off as your own, not mansplain or white-splain the stories of women of color. Let women of color tell their stories, because we are the magic. Our powers derive from our history, from our ability to persevere, to survive, to adapt, to grow, to create, to learn. We are the history. There would be no United States of America without women of color. There would be no American frontier. There'd be no discovery of it without women of color. There would be no economy without women of color. There would be no children being taken care of without women of color. There would not be civil rights without women of color. No Me Too, no civil rights movement, no Black Lives Matter movement, no Time's Up movement without women of color. And this is why I find it so important for us to share our stories and for people to listen and to learn from us. This is how we are able to mentor each other, how we're able to support each other, is to pretty much make sure that others know that they're not alone, for others to know what we are working on, what we're going through, so that we can help and support each other. And for those who are not women of color, that's why I say it's important for you to listen. Not to take that person's story and go and try to explain it to somebody else and not get the real details. Don't speak for us. Listen to us. Listen to our stories. And this is what I'm doing on this podcast. This is the way that I tell my story. And for you in the audience, my women of color in the audience, you can do so too. You don't have to podcast, but if you want to, you could. Go out there and blog. Go and microblog on Twitter. Go make a nice Facebook post. Go write an ebook. Write a real book. Go speak. But tell your stories. Share your stories. Record your stories. And make sure that you are credited for your stories, because your story is very much valuable. And with that, I'm done. Those are my 10 ways that you can support women of color, and especially Black women, this month and every month. And now for the last section, figure this out. And this is what I want you guys to figure out for me. How else can we support women of color this month and every month? That's all. I'm not going to go into it any further. I want to know, how else can we support women of color in 2020 and beyond? And so if you want to share with me what you've come up with, you can go ahead and contact me on the show's Instagram page, which is Figure Out Your Life Pod, or you can email me at figureoutyourlifeblog@gmail.com. And all other ways to contact me can be found in the show notes. And so with that, I am done. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a little bit different, but I hope you still found it helpful, and that you will share this with your friends or whoever else you think that would relate to this subject matter. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and review the podcast on whatever podcasting platform you are listening to this on. Also, if you would like to keep up with me and the podcast, I suggest you sign up for our newsletter, which can be found at figureoutyourlifeblog.com/newsletter. Okay, now I'm done. So I hope you guys have a happy and blessed and healthy morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time you're listening to this, wherever you are. I want you to just be great and support women of color, especially Black women. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.